Hey, have you ever heard of Dmitro Gordon? That's a human's name, by the way, Dmitro Gordon. Have you ever heard of him? I mean, probably not. Oh God, Jesus. Look, I'm sorry. Shit happens, but I'm very sorry. So anyway, yeah, we have established that you've never heard of the guy. He's not exactly famous in the West like he is in Eastern Europe, specifically in Russia and Ukraine. This guy has got a crazy mix of talents. So he is, first of all, he's a kickboxer. He's also a journalist. He's a black belt at ripping out people's throats. He's a YouTuber with millions of subscribers. He's a con artist, the likes of which you've never seen in your entire life, I swear to God. And yeah, he's just basically a living meme. So that's the guy. He is essentially everything Andrew Tate would have been if he had been active in the 90s. Anyway. So back in the early 90s, when Ukraine was just starting out as an independent nation, this guy Gordon, that's his last name by the way, not his fucking first name. So Gordon, Dmitro Gordon, he got his degree in civil engineering and soon became a journalist, working for all sorts of small-time media outlets. So the guy made his first big bucks no less, selling these pyramid things. You shouldn't say, yeah, that's the name of this miraculous contraption shaped like a pyramid and made out of brass or bronze wiring, supposedly capable of curing pretty much everything and anything under the sun. And one thing I'm wondering to this day, how exactly does one utilize the power of these things? Do you just wear them on top of your head and, connect to the cosmos and draw energy from space, or like how exactly do they work? Now, after establishing himself as a big shot in the business world, this Gordon guy pivoted to become one of the best known journalists in the post-Soviet world. So he launched this talk show, this TV show, where he would essentially just sit down with all sorts of famous people, from like politicians and actors, and just sit down with them and talk about stuff. Now, I gotta hand it to him. Over the years, this guy has managed to sit down and chat with some like really big players. At one point, he even had a sit down with the last leader of the Soviet Union. And that's saying something about the guy's ability to slip through the cracks, What really made this Gordon guy stand out as a journalist and essentially turned him into a bit of a meme, across the post-Soviet world, was his habit of dropping these ridiculous comments during his interviews. Like once he was talking to this famous Russian billionaire who had done some jail time for getting on the government's nerves. And when he asked this Russian billionaire about the conditions in jail, the Russian guy, replied with just one word, barrack, which in Russian means a rundown, squalid housing project. So essentially slums or something. So this Gordon guy, what he does is he jumps in with Obama, before the other guy could really say anything.
В каких условиях вы сидели?
Барак.
Обама.
Ну, типа.
And that's just one of the more famous examples of the guy's talent for pun and lame jokes that essentially turned him into a living meme and earned him millions of followers across his several YouTube channels. So what happens next, you might ask? Well, quite simple. With his large fan base, this Gordon guy decides to cash in on his fame and opens his own online shop called, yeah, you guessed it, Gordon Shop. His shop sells all kinds of merchandise, from mugs to pillows, of course, all with his face plastered on them. But the best of all, my favorite of all time is his own candy brand, which is called Gordon's Chocolate Balls. Gordon's Chocolate Balls. I mean, but this guy doesn't stop there, of course. In his free time, he's a pro kickboxer and even has a personal martial art called Throat Ripper, after he promised to do that to a Russian journalist for telling Gordon to die. Now, that phrase, "I'm gonna rip out your throat, bitch," turned into a bit of a meme itself and eventually ended up on the shelves of his online shop. What do you know, eh? How about that? So there it is. I hope you guys had a good time. Yeah. Guess I'll be seeing you next time. You take care.